Now that we have learned the basics of constants, variables, and special characters, let us now look into the steps involved in program development. Basically, where do you write your program, how do you compile the program, and how do you execute the program. I will constantly use the terms program and code interchangeably for the rest of the course. So the first step involves writing the code. So you can write your code in a text editor. You can use editors like Notepad or Notepad++, Emacs, etc. Or also you can use integrated development environments, IDEs. Integrated development environment. So you have IDEs like Code Blocks, Dev C++, or Eclipse, Visual Studio. So these are just 4 IDEs. There are like hundreds more. So we want to use something like Notepad or Notepad++ to write your program. And when you write your program, you have to save the program using a .c extension. Right? So your program name can be something like test.c. The .c file is known as your source code because it represents the original form of the program expressed in the C language. Next, we have to compile our code. So the compiler takes the .c file and spits out a .o file. Now, in this process, the compiler is going to examine each program instruction in the source code and checks it to ensure that it conforms to the syntax and the semantics of the language. So if any mistakes are discovered, so let's say if any mistakes are discovered during this phase, they are reported to the user and the compilation ends right there. The errors then have to be corrected in the source code and the compilation process must be restarted. So we go back all the way to our source code, and depending upon what the compiler reports, you have to make those specific changes and recompile it again. Now you're going to be stuck in this process until you come up with the correct code or you follow the correct semantics of the language. And if you keep making mistakes, your compiler is going to keep reporting errors and you have to keep fixing the errors. So once your compiler says that there are no errors, we proceed to the next step. So we get a .o file out of the compiler. The O file is also known as the object file. It's going to contain all the information which is in your source code in a slightly machine readable format. It's not entirely machine readable, but it is a transformed code from your .c file. Now we take the .o file and we move to the program called a linker. So linker takes the object file and it gives out the executable file or the .exe file. You must have learned about .exe files when you're trying to download some software off the internet. So this is the file that gets downloaded. And if you try to open a .exe file in Notepad or Notepad++, you will see that it is all gibberish. But the exe file is something that the microprocessor is going to understand. Now, once the exe file is generated, it is now time to execute it. Now, when the program is executed, each of the statements of the program is sequentially executed in turn. If the program requests any data from the user, known as input, the program temporarily suspends its execution so that the input can be entered. Or the program might simply wait for an event, such as a mouse being clicked, to occur. Results that are displayed by the program, known as the output, appear in a window, sometimes called as the console. Or the output might be written directly into a file on the system. So if everything goes well, and it probably won't the first time the program is executed, the program performs its intended functions. If the program does not produce the desired results, it is necessary to go back and reanalyze the program's logic. So you have the execution or the execution engine. It's going to produce some results. And now, going to see if the results are okay or not. If they are okay, then that's where you end the process of program development. And if they are not okay, then you need to go back all the way to your text editor or your source file and see why the results are not okay. So this is known as the debugging phase, during which an attempt is made to remove all the known problems or bugs from your program. To do this, it will most likely be necessary to make changes to the original source program. In that case, the entire process of compiling, linking, and executing the program must be repeated until the desired results are obtained.